In this video, we're going to be looking at some budgetary policies over the last couple of years that have impacted upon equity. In class, we'll discuss some policies from this year's budget as well that have been impacting equity. So, first thing that can impact equity is something like the carbon tax. The idea of the carbon tax was to reduce pollution and to reduce the incidence of carbon emissions, and therefore help improve intertemporal efficiency by reducing the incidence of cyclones and rising sea levels and all the issues associated with global warming. However, because the carbon tax is a regressive tax, it affects low-income earners more because they have to pay a higher price for electricity, and electricity represents a higher proportion of their income, and also electricity has quite an inelastic demand associated with it, and therefore that leads to it having regressive effects because they can't really substitute out of electricity. It's a necessity. So in essence, the carbon tax increases the Gini coefficient for final income, as low-income earners have to pay a higher percentage in tax, and it's a type of indirect tax. So the idea is to promote equity through intertemporal efficiency in the long term, but it does come at the expense of equity in the short term. Other examples that show the trade-off between equity and efficiency. So we've talked about the carbon tax. Any excise taxes target efficiency. Again, they're trying to target allocative efficiency by reducing incidence of, for example, negative externalities. So whether that be passive smoking and the health costs associated with cigarettes, whether it be the carbon dioxide or carbon emissions caused by petrol consumption. But they do hurt equity because they, again, regressive taxes that impact low-income earners more than high-income earners. So any of these excise taxes are going to shift the Lorenz curve to sort of outwards, this way, well drawn, even though the line actually goes the other way, so they actually shift the Lorenz curve outwards, and that leads to more inequitable distribution on final income. Progressive taxes are the opposite. They are designed to promote equity at the expense of perhaps efficiency, so people might not work as hard because they're going to be in higher tax brackets. So if we make the progressive tax system more progressive, that will come at the expense of efficiency, but will promote equity. So the budget repair levy, that was a 2% tax on those earning over $180,000. That's an example of targeting of something that's going to hurt equity. Improve equity, but could help efficiency. Improve equity that could come at the expense of efficiency because people might not work as hard, particularly high-income earners. Examples of policies impacting equity in the past. Means testing the baby bonus, that's going to improve equity because if we means test it, we're only giving it to low-income earners or people that have minimal assets, and therefore that helps promote equity because only low-income earners get the benefits. Increasing the luxury car tax from 25% to 33%. Again, that's promoting equity because only high-income earners will pay that tax, even though it's an indirect tax. It's only paid by high-income earners. The Medicare levy up to 2%. Again, in itself, it's not really having an impact on equity because it's a proportional tax. If they use that extra money though to provide disability care, then it would be an example of something that's promoting equity. Increasing the progressivity of the income tax system, promoting equity. Superannuation co-contributions, that's when the government matches any low-income earners' contributions to their superannuation to try and give them more super for the future, so that promotes equity. Increasing the tobacco excess or the petrol excise are examples of regressive taxes. Policies from the 2014-2015 budget. Again, I said they introduced the temporary repair levy, so that's going to hurt high-income earners and will make the distribution of disposable income more equitable. Tightening eligibility for family tax benefits in the past would hurt the gross income of low-income earners, so that's bad for equity. Increasing the excess on fuel is bad for equity because it's a regressive tax that hurts final income. Increasing the pension age to 70 and indexing pensions to the CPI rather than wages, which basically what that means is that people's pensions are going up in line with inflation rather than in line with wages, and wages generally go up faster, so it's bad for pensioners because their pension's going to go up slower. But they did scrap this, but that was something they did introduce that would have hurt equity because pensions would have gone up slowly. There was also the co-contribution of $7 towards your GP, which would be another thing that would hurt the social wage income, particularly of low-income earners. Policies from last year's budget. couple of things that they wanted to introduce. They wanted to introduce a 4-week waiting period for under 25s to access unemployment benefits. That was good for equity because initially they said it was going to be 6 months, where now they're going to give people access to welfare earlier. They also had a youth employment strategy. They spent $331 million in trying to get people back to work for disengaged 15 to 21-year-olds. So again, trying to get people back into work helps equity. And one other thing that they did, they also tried to increase the childcare subsidy last year, particularly for those with earning less than $65,000. They were able to get up to 85% of their childcare fees back. So that would be an example of something to promote equity, to promote social wage income of low-income earners. And the last thing they did with the pension, they made it hard for rich people to get the pension last year. So basically, if you were receiving the part pension, you could have assets up to $1.5 million and you would still receive the part pension. This is outside of your house. They reduced that to $823,000. So if you had assets outside more than $823,000 besides your house, you no longer receive the pension. So basically what it means is rich pensioners aren't receiving the pension anymore, and that helps equity. Thanks for listening.